We're not starting. Huh?
You get her fired.
All right.
I've had a great day today. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everybody have a good day today?
You.
Me too. I had an interesting day today. Roll call, please. Oh, man, we got through the pledge of allegiance. I can't believe it.
I hit a storm. Like,
I'll tell you about my little episode later today with my car.
between here and Standish, there was like snow and sleet. Sorry.
Yeah, mine was between here and Standish too. Must be a bad spot in the road.
I apologize.
All right, Jenny David,
Here,
Roger McNeil, Charles Wiltie,
Here.
Brenda Simmons,
Here.
Craig Scott.
No, I think it.
any additions or corrections to the agenda?
I've got an addition, please.
Commissioner Wilson, go ahead.
We're at a transit meeting today. I'd like to add, we had some open bids for overhead doors and pedestrian doors. I'd like to add that to the agenda.
Who's that? Where would you like it?
Wherever you think it.
Discussion items?
Sure.
Transit, what would you like to call it?
Transit, bid acceptance.
Any other additions or corrections? Nice. Commissioner Simmons, any additions or corrections?
I haven't looked at it yet. What was your correction, please? Any addition? Was there any additions made?
Transit, under 5D, transit bids.
Oh, okay.
Anything else?
I gotta look.
Public comment. Any public comment in the room? Any public comment on the phone? Appointments. 4A, Ryan Beater, Planning and Zoning Administrator, and Randy Booth, Equalization Director. Come on up, Ryan. Hi.
He was supposed to be on the call, I believe. Or I was told he was.
Who's that, Ryan?
Randy, he's supposed to be on.
Randy, are you on there? You got the floor, Ryan.
Well, I'll speak to what I can on it. So, speaking with Randy, I guess he is looking to, I guess Ogemaw County is part of the Eastern Michigan Council of Governments. And, Randy would like us to be part of the Northeast Michigan Council of Governments. What I'm looking at is Michigan has a grant right now that is available. And it is a grant for up to $50,000, which includes costs associated with the adoption of land use policies, master plan updates, zoning text amendments, and similar actions. I guess the maximum grant amount award is $50,000. Match and or leverage funds are not required. And I think that has something to do with the reasoning for moving from the Eastern Michigan Council of Governments to the Northeast Michigan Council of Governments.
Right,
I'm not
and
mistaken.
plan was to have somebody from MCI here tonight flanking you to explain what that would entail. And he canceled. I'm not sure if there's much more to speak to right now because we don't have any idea
Yeah,
of the cost or other requirements there might be.
but that's what I think we're looking into, the cost of that, if there is a cost associated with that to the county and what that would require. I don't know if it require a resolution to do that. I don't, from speaking with Randy, it sounded like we had to petition the state to do that, to transfer from one to the other. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like he is on the line anywhere.
I guess I'm not, this is for us to apply for a $50,000 grant? You lost me somewhere.
That's where I'm a little bit confused on as well, too. The grant is through MSHDA. And I believe what it is through my research and a lot of stuff that I do, Northeast Michigan Council of Governments do a lot of work with planning and zoning communities as far as master plan updates, zoning ordinances and things of that nature. I'm kind of assuming that the Eastern Michigan Council of Governments doesn't do a whole lot of that, or they don't do it at all. So I think that's the reasoning for transferring to them. If I'm not mistaken, I think he had said, was it Aranac or Iosco County?
I honestly, I don't remember.
It was one of those two counties were also going to petition to be moved from the Eastern Council to the Northeast Council. And I think it's for that particular reason. I think they have more planners, more people available to them to do that work or to help with that work than the Eastern Michigan Council of Governments.
Is there a deadline on this?
Not that the actual grant application, there's going to be $2.325 million allocated to the program that'll be available starting October 1st. So I have the grant application. I have all the information needed to apply for the grant, which I will be doing here in the next day or two. I don't know how this affects our status with one versus the other.
Tim?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, NEMCOG rep couldn't be here tonight because without him, it's almost futile to have an additional conversation. I have no idea what this would entail. We did look at membership dues with, I believe it was the MCOG group earlier this year, and we were talking something in the neighborhood of $2,500 to be a member. And if we did that, then we would get assistance for things like, we were actually talking to them about housing and some assistance they could provide them. Don't know what NEMCOG does with that. I suspect they're probably involved with the Project Alpena group on housing, but I have no idea without their representative here. And that was the whole point of setting this up.
Yeah. And I'm not so sure if that affects the grant or not, but we are in dire need of a master plan update at the Planning Commission level. And there are funds available to help us do that without coming out of our pocket. I think
This
it's
looks
a
like
good
they
idea.
just joined. He's connected.
I don't know. Can you hear us, Randy?
Looks like he's struggling. Cause he's not muted, but, well, I guess there'll be more to come on this. He's probably, without the rep, here's a rep. Can we get a hold and see if the rep's able to come?
Yeah, we had already done that for tonight too, and I don't know why the cancellation occurred, but we will reconnect and find him.
Keep us updated, right?
Okay, great.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Mike Bowers,
Thank you, Ryan.
come on up, Mike. Emergency Management Coordinator, 2024 Emergency Management Performance Grants, EMPG Grant Agreement. Hi, Mike.
Hi, how's everybody doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. So I actually have two grants because the second one came in after I sent everything to Tim. So I thought I would try to get both grant agreements done at the same time, if you guys don't mind. So the first one is the EMPG. I spoke about this several months ago. This year, it's an 11% of what you pay my wages that you're gonna get reimbursed. It's $3,196 this year, but
3,000 what?
$3,196.
Okay,
But some information moving forward on this subject. I am on the committee from Michigan Emergency Management Association, working with MSP, MHSD to lobby in Lansing to get an appropriation for the state of Michigan to create funds for emergency management programs. And between that and what FEMA is expecting coming in the future, next year, they're expecting a 20% reimbursement. And then hopefully the year after that, getting back up to the 30%, which has been the history, at least since I started. So, other than the 1 year we got the ARPA and then we got 49% that year. So, and thank you for signing that already.
does this need to come back? yet?
Take a look at what I'm looking at here.
So the second is BRIC grant, bringing resilience infrastructure in communities. And this grant is for our hazard mitigation plan. I have researched and found a company, Integrated Solutions. and they are out of Chicago. They're a planning organization, and they've done about 40 throughout the Midwest, literally. They do a lot of it. They video in to our group. This grant is a 75-25% grant. The estimated total cost of the grant is $61,750. FEMA is awarding $46,000 in that. The rest of it is contribution in kind. We already have 5,500 of that we're going to be able to include from the county's GIS program. What we pay for our annual GIS, that will be part of the stuff that we will use in order to create the hazard mitigation plan. So that will be part of our contribution in kind. That leaves approximately $10,000 left. So if we can get 20 people into the 10 meetings that are planned, we can get away with this with no money out of pocket. So the key is going to be getting 20 people on average into these monthly meetings in order to do the planning. So this hazard mitigation plan does two things for us. One, it qualifies us for Section 19 funding, which is the state of Michigan's emergency funding. Without an approved FEMA hazard mitigation plan, you do not qualify for that at all. Although you do qualify for FEMA funding if the threshold is met for FEMA to come in and give aid. So, and if you will, the tornadoes in Gaylord did not qualify for FEMA, but they had a current hazard mitigation plan. So Section 19 funding came in and reimbursed them for their needs after the tornadoes up there in Gaylord, as an example. So the other thing that it does for you is it allows you to apply for grants, which I just heard that the master plan is greatly needed to be redone, and all of the county planning stuff qualifies under the BRIC program, along with infrastructure renewals. FEMA is very strong on the flooding thing right now. Anything to culverts and bridges, reroute water, stuff like that, places that have a history of flooding. We do have some of that history from 2020 that I don't know if we need updates there on any of that infrastructure, but that stuff would also qualify.
Thank you. Tim, do you have anything?
I do, Mike. It looks like the one sheet here is that grant that you have.
So the first one is for, yes, that one is for the emergency management grant program.
Okay, so I'll just hang on to this until Tuesday because the board has to vote on this.
Okay, not a problem.
And what was the second one, this piece?
The second one is for the building resilience in communities for the hazard mitigation plan.
Okay, and
That was not in the packet.
not in the packet. It wasn't in our budget for this year, so we'll need another resolution to accept that grant too.
Okay.
Okay. And those resolutions are when the board votes, that's what authorizes the chair to sign. So I'll just kind of hang out.
Absolutely, no problem at all.
And,
So
do that. And if you could give me information on.
I can, it's quite a bit of stuff.
That's fine.
I brought a few highlights with me, but in case you guys wanted them, in fact, you guys can keep these highlights. So
Perfect. Thank you.
I'll give those to you, Tim, and I'll get you a full packet.
Okay, appreciate it.
We will work on these on Tuesday.
And currently I am also waiting for Integrated Solutions to send me a copy of the contract that they want to do to move this forward. We would like to start in January. So we've already been approved for it. We've already been awarded the grant. It's just a process of paperwork now.
Can I make a comment?
Go ahead.
I've said this many times about Mike, we're very fortunate to have Mike and what he does, because in this realm of things, we would really have no idea that these are out there for us. And we know with the way the weather patterns are now, we could have some real major weather that could really do some serious damage to this county. So
We,
we appreciate you looking into all this, and all it's gonna do is protect us in the long run. So,
so thank you.
thank you.
I enjoy being Chicken Little.
Thank you, sir. 4C, Julie Darton, MSU Extension Director, Agreement for Extension Services. Good evening, Julie.
Hello. So this is the annual memorandum of agreement that is signed between Michigan State University and the Ogemaw County for extension services. And you'll notice that in it, it does include an additional funding line. And there was, in your packet was a communication from me to Tim explaining what the $10,000 will be used for. So for some time, it's been my intention to try to bring an extension Master Gardener volunteer program back to this area. And I think maybe the most effective way I can do that is by pooling some funds from Ogemaw County, from Iosco County, and from Alcona County, and then hiring someone on a part-time basis who can work with those volunteers. That person's responsibility would be to onboard volunteers and make sure that they're meeting our volunteer requirements. So we do screening of all of our volunteers, whether they are 4-H volunteers or Extension Master Gardener volunteers. And currently, without a coordinator for those volunteers, we can't actually support them. So this would be a mechanism to do that. And I do have proposals in front of both of the other counties, which are supported similarly by millages, and where I have some millage fund balance. So that is where the money is coming from the fund balance of the millage.
Questions, commissioners?
You're just asking for support on this then for here in Ogemaw County? No,
Right.
no, nothing financially other than what we already have through the millage, right?
Right, exactly. Nothing coming out of the general fund to support this, but pooling the funds so that the person can serve more than one county.
Okay. I just got one more thing. I know when we had met, I'm on liaison with MSU Extension, and we had met up at Alcona High School, and they had the big, beautiful fenced-in garden. And I know right now with the way things are, a lot more people are trying to get back into gardening and what have you. And again, I always say how valuable MSU Extension is, but I think the biggest proponent of this is we need to figure out how we can really get this out to our residents of the county, because I think a lot of people would really jump on this. We just need to figure a little better way of marketing what you guys can offer, but I think this is fantastic.
Thanks, yeah.
Mills Township has a great community garden.
Yeah, we do. Yes,
Yeah.
that's fabulous. over there.
There's also, I believe there's been a garden in Rose City as well. And I know it's not that there aren't gardening efforts here, but having Master Gardener volunteers through Extension would allow those people to do some of the educational pieces that help those gardens to thrive. They can engage other people in maintaining those locations and also connect them with resources from Michigan State University. So what we see is that when we can wrap around, we can actually support people's health and nutrition, their physical activity through gardening, their food security. There's all sorts of ways that Extension Master Gardeners, but if we don't have a volunteer coordinator, we can't have someone in the area that's doing that work. So currently, people who want to become volunteers take a class called Foundations of Gardening. And then there's an additional step to go through the screening and onboarding to become a volunteer. Not everyone who takes the class wants to become a volunteer. Some people just really love gardening and they want to learn about it. So there's that opportunity. But the value of those extension services, we estimate above $25 an hour for those volunteers who are involved because of the training that they have. And if it's approved, I'll be able to come to Ogemaw, Iosco, and Alcona and talk about how we're, improving community and also improving these spaces in community.
Tim, do you have something?
I do. I did point out in the email that's on the iPads about the $10,000+ difference between what was budgeted in the budget. Cost, it looks like, for that Master Gardener position. Julie's explanation in the reply, as you can see, was that they wanted to use some of their fund balance to make up some of that difference. My concern is at the end of 23, and of course, we've just finished up 24, so I
Right.
don't know what the informal number is there. But there was only $2,593 in the fund balance for extension. So to make this commitment, my concern is that if there is enough in the fund balance, that it's a razor thin margin. And so just so everybody's aware of that, there's like no room to maneuver. If there's additional cost later in the year, there's nowhere to pull those funds from except the general fund, which we don't want to do. So just so as everybody's aware of that, we're making a commitment here and hoping that we don't need that cushion later in the year.
Your thoughts on that, Julie?
The projected revenue from the millage exceeded the projected expenses that I had for when I budgeted for 2025. So in looking at the total cost, I thought it was accessible based on the request for 25. However, I will say this can be revised and resubmitted with a lower number if that would make the commissioners more comfortable. And then we could maybe, if we assess where we are at the midpoint in the year, I can come back in the spring and make the case to, increase the amount, and this can be amended. The agreement can be amended. So the other portion of the services relate to the 4-H program coordinator and the general operations of the office. So that has not changed from last year to this year.
Commissioner Simmons?
Does MSU provide any funding for this stuff, or is it just basic, the millage?
Well, MSU doesn't have additional funds to put positions in the field right now, but I'm hoping that by starting off with some funds and being creative and pooling funds from different counties, that they can see the value for these communities and invest some funding. So it is in some ways strategic in that respect, to say we can take money from the 3 counties and create a position that can serve multiple areas.
Okay.
Commissioner Mayo?
No.
Commissioner?
No, I'm okay.
I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence here. I'm kind of undecided. $10,000 is a lot of money, especially when we don't, you guys don't have that. And this is a new position.
Yes.
I don't disagree with the thought of, let's try half and kind of see how it goes. And if it prospers and you need more midway through, come back and, approach us on it and let us know how it's going and go from there. I don't think that's gonna stop this from moving forward, correct?
No, because I have submitted budget requests for Alcona and Iosco. I will say they're on a calendar fiscal year, so they're starting in January. So they haven't approved those county budgets yet. But I also would be happy to, revise this, take the money out completely, and then come back with a proposal to make an amendment to this, if that would make everyone more comfortable. I understand this would have to again be approved at a subsequent board meeting, so I can see if we can have it revised and resubmitted.
Go on, pardon me?
I'd be totally comfortable with the revision at 50%. And then we start from there.
Okay.
Me as well, since this is new and we don't know
What
what,
counties were those, Alcona and what?
Iosco.
Thank you.
we don't know what the future is gonna hold at this point in time, so.
Okay.
It is kind of sad that the school and doesn't, I think that was an excellent question by Commissioner Simmons, that the school's not, actively participating in that, but.
It would be nice if they could support this somehow financially somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, my hope is really that, we can show that we have folks that are interested, that we have projects that are making impact. And so I'm also conscious of the fact that I want to be a good steward of the funds from all of the counties that support extension. And I do have a fund balance in both of those counties. We've had a millage somewhat longer than we have here.
Now, this Master Gardener thing, do you have like classes where the people who would like to be involved can come and take classes from this person?
Yes, and they do get, so one of the values is that Master Gardener volunteers are able to participate in ongoing education and also themselves provide education to the public. So with approved project, an approved project could be at a school, for example, and they could engage with youth through that project. It could be at a community garden. It could be there's lots of different types of those. They don't all have to be food producing. Some of them are beautification projects or memorial gardens, things like that. Master gardeners have been involved in all kinds of different programs across the state. So I can revise and resubmit if that's the guidance that I'm being given. I would be happy to do that.
That's what I would request.
Sounds good.
Okay.
You guys have thoughts? Yes.
I like the idea.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item D, Brian Gilbert, sheriff, related to jail administrator position.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, guys.
Regards to this appointment, I don't have a lot to give you right now, other than Monday. We sat down with the union and negotiated. I thought it was a pretty good conversation in regards to this jail administrator position. Right now, I don't have anything else to give you, other than we'll see where that goes with our union that's representing our lieutenant.
Let's just clarify that grievance meeting on Monday dealt with the promotions. This was not part of it. Okay, so they were dealing specifically with the 3 who were promoted and not the jail administrator.
We touched on that.
Now, we did talk about dealing with this again at the table when we meet. But as far as getting this resolved through what we did on Monday, this was not part of the
Well,
conversation.
we had conversation on it, is what I'm getting at, and I thought it was a good conversation. So, there's more work to be done on this, for sure.
Kim, go ahead.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Sounds right.
Yeah, so.
So if the board is willing to be patient for a few more weeks, we will go through those bargaining sessions and I can report back to you if there's any progress there.
I guess I don't understand.
Well, what the sheriff is saying is that, and he is correct, we do intend to be talking about this again at the table. The union objects to this. And that's fine. We'll talk to the union, but the board has set the personnel allocation list. That list includes a jail administrator and 5 correction officers. Okay, right now we have a jail lieutenant who is inserted that is not an approved position. We are already, we mentioned grieving the 3 promotions that were made, but this was not one of the positions on that grievance. So technically it was not on the table, other than to say we will continue talking about it, which we'd already said. I mean, that wasn't news to anybody at the table. In the meantime, here we are with a position that we don't have on the position allocation list. So the question is, what are we doing moving forward? Now, what the sheriff is saying, he wants to wait until after the 13th.
I guess what are our options sitting here as a board right now?
You can say, we have a position allocation list that has a jail administrator. When do you intend to fill that job? I personally have no problem being patient with one more conversation with the union, but you've already set the budget. You've already set the position allocation list. You don't need to do anything more other than to have that position filled.
Commissioner Simmons.
I agree with that. I mean, the allocation list was done before the beginning of the FI, and I would expect it to be adhered to. And not promote people into positions that don't even exist anymore. So that's my problem. So are we paying this person?
Person is receiving a paycheck. I've not seen any personnel action report come through to tell me otherwise.
And he's getting paid as a what?
As a lieutenant.
Why is he getting paid as a lieutenant if it doesn't even exist?
Well, again, we were working through other issues such as the FMLA leave, and when that expired, last week, I think it is, we adopted the actual job description as well. Really the board's call on what you want to do at this point. But again, I don't think there's harm in waiting for this conversation with the union. I will report back to you if there's any other alternative that you might want to consider, or if not. And then it's just a matter of saying, okay, we're through with the conversation. We need to implement the list that's been approved.
This is my concern. As my understanding, the last meeting we had, the sheriff decided on his own not to give that layoff slip to that individual. You know,
Correct?
Yeah.
we should not be paying for that position. It doesn't even exist. And just because he didn't do his job is what I'm looking at. He didn't lay off that person and he announced he wasn't gonna lay it off and at a meeting and he didn't do his job. So why should our budget be off? Because the sheriff refused to do his job.
Well, let's also clarify the wage, standing wage for the position as a lieutenant is less than what we budgeted for the jail administrator.
And I understand that,
The
but he's,
financial part is
Go ahead.
not critical, you know, it's not going to blow a hole in the budget, but the bottom line is the board, as is your authority, under state statute, have set a personnel allocation list. This is what you budgeted. You set that as a board. Anybody else that can alter that on their own. Again, where I'm sitting, I don't have a problem waiting for the few more weeks before we get to the table with the union. Maybe they've got some plan that will work for all of us. I don't know. We won't know that until we get to the bargaining table. But if not, I think it's reasonable if you want to wait until the 13th, whatever meeting we have after that, whatever that date is. And then move forward after that, if you like. You don't have to do that. You've adopted a personnel allocation list. That's what you can enforce.
Commissioner Mayhew.
I got time.
I'm gonna disagree. I agree it's not financial. We talked about this. We talked about the budget. I don't know what that will do. We need to. This has been done. When we agreed on this budget, this decision was made. Now going back on it, we talked about it in great detail over the last two meetings. What precedence does that set to the other departments? I say we move forward with it, see if something becomes of it with the union, I guess let that be on them. I don't know how, I'm not in negotiations, I'm not in bargaining. We've already made this decision.
to let this go,
No, to move forward with allocating this position allocation list. It's part of our budget.
it is part of our budget. But the sheriff took it upon himself to,
That's what I'm saying, to move forward with that, to not wait till December.
no, I don't wanna wait either. I wanna deal with it right now.
We already did. We already did.
I don't wanna pay him as lieutenant. He should have been given that slip. Sheriff refused to do it.
Commissioner Wiltie.
Obviously being on the law enforcement committee, you know, this is an item that we've discussed and obviously we're all very frustrated and we all have our own opinions and the sheriff and the undersheriff, they have their opinions on how things should go. We have set a standard to move forward, what we believe should be that position, and that is a jail administrator. I just had seen on the law enforcement and having these consistent meetings with our shareholders, which we had another one today and I was gonna do a report on. We do know that the current staffing over there is extremely lean. We do know that Tom brings a lot to the table. It was said again today by Judge Bennett and Judge Beebe, since Tom has been back from FMLA. It's a new atmosphere over there. They feel safer, they feel secure. Now, I know this doesn't change anything from the jail administrator thing, but you guys, at the end of the day here, we've got to get this figured out. And this direction we're heading right now, I can see there's just this huge roadblock between the commissioners and the sheriff department. And we have to be able to communicate and we have got to figure this out. Yes, in a perfect world, I wish that they would understand the jail administrator position. It's more of an expense. I think coming from Tom, he's doing a great job. I don't see there's any reason at all he should worry about his job. But right now, my main concern of this is the fact is if Tom would, we would have some major issues right now with the current safety of the courts, the days they have courts. And I don't think that's something that we can mess with at this moment. I think we should just give it, as Tim would say, the 13th. I'm not sure what will come out from that. But you guys, we have got to be able to figure out how we're gonna move forward with all this. We have this jail transition going on. We've got a lot of great things going on. We've got a lot of challenges. And this constant battle that we're seeing is not gonna help anything. So that being said, I will give it to the 13th. I don't know what could come out of it. But at the end of the day, we've got to get this figured out and we've got to be able to move forward and take care of what needs to be taken care of.
Is there liability with the county with this? Because I guess that was brought up, but Commissioner Simmons had brought the point as far as the supervisor being in the union and the employees being in the union, like what a conflict that was.
You don't typically have supervisors and personnel supervising in the same union.
That's right.
So that is typical, but also it's not common to have your managers in a union at all. They're typically at will. I see that there are some counties who do this, who have a critical commonality among employees who might be supervisory, who have their union. Well, that's fine, but it is separate and distinct from the group that they're supervising. And that's, a possibility here, but that's up to the employees to determine if they're going to have form another unit or whatever it would take to do that. There's a formal process through the state for that to happen. But the bottom line is, as far as what this board has done, there are actually two statutes, one that governs the Board of Commissioners' authority to set the personnel roster for the county. And there's a second one, revised statutes of 1846, that directly addresses the sheriff in the appointment of personnel as approved by the Board of Commissioners. So that's reinforced twice, two different statutes. All it would take to resolve this would be for the sheriff to appoint somebody to that jail administrator position, whom I assume would be the lieutenant. But that's the sheriff's choice, 100%. Your responsibility was to set the roster of what you've done, and that's where the rub is at the moment. Frankly, there is no rub from where I sit. You've done your job. We now have to fill the position. But as I said, I understand that, change is hard. And if it takes one more meeting with the union to make everybody comfortable, well, then so be it. But I don't know that the conversation needs to go any longer than that. The board's position is well founded in statute.
So you're saying there's a meeting, just so I understand this perfectly, there's a meeting December 13th?
Yeah, let me just double check, but
I confirmed it was the 13th,
right.
Is that on the agenda?
bargaining.
Yeah, that's bargaining. So your next meeting would be the 19th.
So at the bargaining though, it doesn't mean that a conclusion is gonna be,
That's right.
it's just a bargaining.
No guarantee that anything different is going to result. We could still be at, opposite ends of the conversation. So there's no guarantee of anything. But what it does do for the board is, at least if we end up in front of an arbitrator, say, look, we've given every opportunity to come up with another option, but there were none that satisfied the board. So you went through with your position allocation list. But, do you have to do that? No, you don't. You've already done your job. I don't think it hurts, if they want to talk one more time, talking one more time, but I don't know what we could possibly hear that would change anything.
I guess that's my question. What could become of this that would change?
And that's where I don't know either. And that's where maybe it's worth
Hang on.
listening, because there might be something that we just aren't aware of.
So I guess sounds like we're kind of split here. Thursday, could this come to a vote or Tuesday? I guess
Yeah, I mean, you could decide Tuesday whether you want to wait or you don't. I mean, you could make a statement. You don't even need to make a motion.
I think we need a vote. We're missing a commissioner.
Yeah. Short answer is yes. I mean,
Okay.
I'm babbling now. Short answer is yes. You could bring this to Tuesday.
Okay, and Commissioner Scott could have something more to offer too. He's on the law enforcement committee. So,
Can I clarify something?
Yeah.
On the union with obviously I understand the position allocation, you change the JA to an at-will non-union. as far as the union conflict, I mean, he currently was a lieutenant in the command unit, which is different than the corrections and the deputies.
Still a union.
Commissioner,
It is still a union, but they're
Simmons.
represented at a different level. They're a separate contract. That's why they do that. So you're not in the same contract as the people that you're supervising. So that's where we disagree on that. It is not the same union. It's a different contract. It allows them to do that. And I think on the 13th, one of the things will be discussed, and correct me if I'm wrong, is his union membership. You know, as a JA, would they change the command contract to allow him as a JA to remain in the union? So that's one of the questions. So I just wanted to
Can you
clarify.
say that again on the 13th? What were they gonna
The
do?
union could discuss the possibility of leaving a JA, because right now the verbiage has JA is not included in the command contract. If there was I shouldn't even be.
The concept is that there's a recognition clause in the union contracts, and this one specifically carves out the jail administrator is not a member of the union. Could we negotiate something so that it was included? I mean, that may be one of the things that would come up that we could talk about, if that's what the issue is. Now, that's gonna also mean, it'll ripple through some of the other clauses in the contract, which again, that's not scary by any means. We just have to go through and make sure that everything lines up the way it's supposed to. So that could be a solution. Now, unit clarification has to go to Merck as well in Lansing. Again, probably details you don't need. That's just part of what we do. If there's some question or some agreement that we end up coming to at that point, we'll take care of all that. But that's one of the things that we'll talk about. And, one of the things that we would likely then go into closed session to discuss what the board's feelings are about that moving forward. Now, unit clarification doesn't have to go anywhere else. We could just ask for it. But we're not going to make a decision like that without the board's backing.
here's my, we talked about this budget for months. This position shouldn't have been no surprise, correct?
Right.
We had months to talk about this. We had months to come to a resolution. And we passed a budget, we passed a position allocation, and here we are. As far as I'm concerned, when we passed that budget and that position allocation, that was it. I agree, ditto, everything Commissioner Wiltie said. I think that individual is a very valued employee. I would hate to see that individual leave the county. But when someone's kind of putting ultimatums in front of you, if you don't do this, I'm gonna quit. I know a lot of organizations that'll say, here, sign this, here's your resignation. I would hate to see that happen. I think, I don't think this individual would ever have to worry about his position. I don't even think that's on the table. But I think this should have been talked about in detail well before now. Commissioner Scott did just text me. I think he's on the phone and would like to comment. I don't know if he's trying to. Tom, is he on there? I don't know where he is.
So earlier for our law enforcement committee, Commissioner Scott is also on it, and he was on the Zoom, but was having problems communicating.
Okay,
I don't know if
he's on there.
would it be legal to call him and have him talk on the speaker on the phone or no? Because I think he's having some type of technical issue on his end with his volume or something.
The only rule on that, he can talk, but he cannot participate in any vote.
Correct.
Right, we know that.
The other thing is this is a position, this isn't about the person. I think we all agree as far as the position is the person is a value, an asset and a value to this county, but this is the position.
Do you want to call Craig?
Did you say yes? Did you say
Yeah,
yes?
he
to
can
phone?
talk, sure, yeah.
I don't know. I just gotta,
See him up there.
I don't know if he's able to talk or not talk.
Phone's almost dead.
Commissioner Scott, you have the floor.
Phone's almost dead.
Do you have
You
it?
have to talk then.
I got 4%.
Go ahead.
It's a position. It's a position, not a personality.
What would you like to see us do?
We made the decision. We talked about it, just like you said. We talked about it. It's a
Commissioner, sir.
decision that the commissioners have made.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have a question?
Go ahead.
So obviously, this has become a very big deal, and it has, we've had a lot of time to talk about this. This was brought to us in the middle of July, and sadly, I don't want to go backwards again, but you know, we all know that the proper consistent communication was not there. But this has not been a surprise to us. Again, I know the value of all this, and the main thing I'm looking at again is the current security of our courts and the way we have this transition. That's the main thing I'm looking at right now. I don't agree with the way this has transpired, and I'm frustrated with it as well. But is the main concern, Sheriff, that you have of not wanting this position for Mr. Howard is just because you're concerned that he's not going to be protected by no longer being in the union, but we all feel very confident of his asset to the corrections and what we're currently doing. I've never heard any negative regarding his work ethic or anything. So why is there such concern about that?
This is what concerns me. He's in the union, he's protected. He's got backing of the union. Everybody here, I will agree, backs him. What's gonna happen in 4 years if you folks aren't here? We get another a batch of other commissioners here that just don't see eye to eye to this man. This man is an asset to us. He needs the protection for that job. He's been there 17 years. He's a resident. We need to take care of him. I'm concerned about who's gonna come in the future. You get another sheriff in the future, they don't like him. They bump heads, gone, no reason, gone. That man is valuable to my agency,
So
our agency.
I understand that, and as long as you're sheriff, you're here for 4 more years. And at the end of the day, we've talked about this, and some people may not agree as much as I do on this. This is a business. You're a stakeholder and you have your business to run. And he's actually getting a promotion. So he's actually getting a thumbs up, great job, you're doing great. A promotion. I just don't agree
We're gonna
with.
disagree.
I don't agree with that argument of protection. And there's a lot of what ifs. We have no idea what's gonna happen in 4 years.
Exactly, and that's what I'm trying to predict. I'm trying to predict that if something bad could happen, that man needs to be protected.
Well, I understand that, Sheriff, but again, we have a business to run today, not in 4 years. Our county is the brokest county in the state of Michigan. We've all had to make serious, hardcore business decisions.
Let me ask you a question. What is your concern? Why do you want him out of there?
Oh.
Explain to me.
I don't want him out of there. It's
out
a
of that.
jail administrator position. I think Tim's made it very clear. We've talked about this. Most positions are jail administrators and outside of the union, if they are overseeing the jail operations, correct?
Right, and understand, the board doesn't decide if he's gonna be in a union or not. That's really something that gets initiated by the employee through, I mean, there are ways they can petition. I would assume he would probably want to stick with the POLC, whatever. But bottom line is, for me, that's a non-issue. If the employee wants to be in a union, there are ways to make that happen. And I would seriously doubt that you would stand in the way of that because there really isn't any reason to. So whether it's a union or not, irrelevant. It's coming down to structure of what we're dealing with. We've got a jail that we're operating. We need an administrator who's operating. That's the bottom line. We don't need a whole bunch of ranks in between. We have corrections officers. We have a jail administrator. That's the extent of it. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, in protection, whether he is in a union or not, is not relevant.
Commissioner Mayhew, do you have something?
Yeah. I got nothing against Tom. I think he does a real good job. We can't vote on it till next week. And my theory is if you got another week and you make it happen, great. But when it comes down to it, I have to vote.
When you make what do you mean you make something happen in the next week?
We can't vote until next week.
Correct.
If they need one more week, I'm not so worried about the week that it's not gonna cost us anymore if he's a lieutenant or if he's the other. But when it comes time to vote, I have to vote for the budget. That's my point. I mean, I'm not trying to.
We have to come to a solution with the union versus
the vote.
That's
what we have to
All
do.
I,
That's
all
what
I'm
we're up
telling you is, as far as I'm concerned, I would give you the extra week. But when it comes to the vote, I have to vote this way.
That's,
Commissioner Simmons, are you done?
No, I'm not done.
Go ahead.
My position is. We did that, the list of the list of what's allotted to be, working for the county, and we did that. Position list. And Mr. Wiltie is right, there's a block between the sheriff and the commissioners. And the reason that blockage is there is because the sheriff didn't do his job. I look at it and I've seen he's hurting the employee. And the employee could have stayed in the union. He could have been a corrections officer. And then we put it out. That positions available for the jail administrator. I mean, simple. He could have stayed in the union as a corrections officer. And wouldn't have been laid off. But that's why we're in this spot. That's why we're in this spot.
We'll put it on for next week.
thank you.
Thanks, guys. Discussion items, appointment to Ogemaw County Land Bank.
So with the elections, we had a supervisor who was in the land bank, Dave Ryan, and Mills Township. He is no longer the supervisor, and what's been recommended is that in recognition of this, that Bruce Beach, the new supervisor, be inserted into that term. This is not a new term, so this will go until, I believe it's 26, I think is when this term would expire. The township supervisor position is required on the land bank, so it's kind of a swap. It would coincide with what happened with the election, and if you were agreeable, we'll put that on a resolution for next week.
How many properties is the land bank renovated over in Mills? At least one, is it two?
I don't know how many. I can answer that. I think, I know two for sure.
That two.
Yeah, I think they did 3 this last year, right? The 3 total, and 2 in Mills Township at this point.
You're willing, Mr. Beach?
Yep.
You sure you know what you're getting into?
I make a comment.
Go ahead.
This past Wednesday, actually, me and Bruce spent some time together. I was at the 9 o'clock road commission meeting Bruce was at. And then I joined in at the 11 o'clock land bank meeting as a visitor, and Bruce did also. So again, you guys have heard me express my happiness of how Bruce is getting involved, and I really feel that he'll do a great job on the land bank. And we know that Karen is a proven winner with this, and we need to have good, strong members on that to keep that moving forward.
That coincides with the supervisor of 2026. No,
No,
that's 4 years. It's not, does it?
right, so the terms are rotated, so everybody doesn't expire all at once. So in 2 years, we could be back here doing a reappointment.
Yes.
So, this is on the land bank is an appointment, right?
Yes.
I don't see any problem with that.
Nope.
No,
We
no,
just-
no, I mean,
we
it's
have
an
to make-
appointment.
We have to make it formal. Thank you.
And how long is it until 2026?
Yes.
Yes.
Then he'd be reappointed again unless they want somebody else. So I haven't. I say.
Unless he bails.
Appoint him.
Thank you. Support for House Bills 4274 and 4275 Revenue Sharing Trust Fund.
You may have gotten an email from Mac about this. What's happening is we're going to have a parade of bills in the lame duck session, going to the governor. The group down in Mac believes this is one of their best opportunities to get the county's revenue sharing out of the state's general fund and put it into its own trust fund. This would be funded with, boy, I'm not sure which plan this is, but it will be a fraction of a percentage of the sales tax, I believe, that will be put away each year into this trust fund to fund revenue sharing for all the counties. That would be money that could only be spent for county revenue sharing and not whittled off for some other project somewhere along the line. So the bottom line is, from Mac's standpoint, is that this would be a way to guarantee revenue sharing would continue on into the future with guaranteed funding. And it would not be a large enough amount to have an impact on the state's budget in any way. So it's a sure thing for the county. What they originally asked for was that our board chairs all sign this letter of support and send that to Lansing. Well, we don't do that without the board's authorization. So that's what authorizes the chair to sign on your behalf. But since then, I think it was earlier today, Matt came up with a resolution that counties could pass as well, which frankly, I think would be more effective and more impactful. on the legislature and the governor, if you've got a resolution that the entire board has voted on, you're saying you agree to the wording that's on there. So either way, you know, letter, resolution, or both, I suppose, if you wish. But what they're asking for is that we would act on that next week.
Questions, comments? There's no reason for us not to.
There's no downside for them.
Commissioners?
I think it's definitely something that we should support.
Commissioner Mayhew? Commissioner Simmons?
I know, I'm looking to,
Huh?
looking to get my dates correct here. Cause, and our next meeting is gonna be at 9 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, the 26th, is that correct? Okay, I didn't want to make sure I got my days right here.
Right now, we're at, do you want support on this House Bill Revenue Sharing Trust Fund?
Oh, yeah, I do,
Okay.
yes, of
Thank
course.
you. Building improvements RFPs.
Hey, and just to give you an update, we had a meeting over a 2.5 hour period yesterday with leaders who were interested in our 5 projects. Recall those are lighting, the boilers, the windows, the ADA compatible restroom, and the entrance over at the county building. Very good interest on all 5. I was pleasantly surprised. In the conversation with the ones who showed up, there was a thought that we could combine these. We would have one person that would be the project oversight would end up as our manager, if you will, of all 5 of these projects, and coordinate times and when projects would be done, you know, when we're going to do the lights versus the windows versus the restrooms and so on. You know, just literally coordinate that, which has its advantages. What I'm going to do based on that conversation, I'm going to issue an addendum that if somebody wanted to propose doing that, by all means, propose it. But I do know that at least 2 of those who showed up yesterday aren't interested in that they would just simply like to bid on the projects as is, which is fine too. This is, I think, sort of a good thing because it gives us another option to another approach. On the downside, it's just a little bit more work for me to get the addendum out and make sure it gets distributed. No problem, that'll happen. But just to give you that update, and again, I think if nothing else, the message coming out of yesterday is that there is interest. We're going to get competitive bids, and I'm really happy to hear that.
Fantastic. Who participated in that meeting? Just,
Let's see if I can.
and I mean, commissioners, you,
It was
the
just
county
me,
level?
and I had Chris Casey at the ready, and the lighting people really wanted to see him. They wanted to go out and look at the various lights that they were talking about. So, you know, between the 2 of us, but I thought I was going to be bored to death, you know, 2.5 hours with the meetings, but it wasn't at all. We toured the buildings, questions were asked. It was a very good interaction.
Commissioner Simmons?
Yes, there is a program right now that's going through the same kind of thing, and they have a manager. And they have a manager, stuff that I've recollected, that in the area it's in, doesn't have very much knowledge of how to do stuff. That's the only thing I don't like about having a manager. When you get a contractor in there that bids on it singly, you know that that guy knows what he's doing. But when you get a manager over somebody that knows what they're doing and a manager that doesn't, you're gonna have a big problem. And there's a big problem in this county right now on one thing that's going on. Cause you've got the contractor who definitely knows what he's doing. And the contractor's having a difficult time dealing with the manager that doesn't know what they're doing. That's my only concern. I hope you don't get yourself in that mess because it can be a real mess and the project can be delayed for months because of it.
I'm glad.
I would just let the contractors come in, bid the things and be done with it.
Glad that we're moving forward with this. Commissioner Mayhew?
I believe she's right. You get too many people, it's the other guy's fault. It's never, you got one guy, it's him. He knows it.
No, that's wrong. You get one guy who doesn't know.
No, but the contractor, you hire him.
That's right.
You got the guy.
You got the guy. You don't need to have some guy that thinks he knows and doesn't know.
Commissioner
There's
Wiltie,
issues
this.
going on in this county right
Hold
now.
on.
with that.
Okay, Commissioner Wiltie.
I've been in project management for 20+ years. It's all about having the right project manager. There's, like Tim said, there's a ton of value to have the correct project manager. If you don't have the right project manager, it can cause a lot of problems. So that's either way. I mean, if we picked the right contractor. And of course, Tim would be, working with them, and I'm sure, Chris will be involved. We would have to make sure we have that right involvement, because at the end of the day, we just gotta make sure that what we're paying for is what we're getting and the quality is there, so. Kind of mixed feelings on it. This is good stuff.
I don't disagree with just let's do the addendum and let's see. I mean, it's not gonna hurt to put our feelers out there. Just look at the cost. Not saying we're doing it. Just,
But
we
if you
don't,
put that addendum out there, then you're asking for a project manager. Is that what you're doing?
no,
It's an option. You can bid it that way if you like, or you can just bid on
the project.
boilers.
It's an option.
I want them to bid on both.
Okay, fine.
It doesn't mean we're doing it. It's just, let's see it.
Okay,
So
I'm just saying, be careful.
Option.
I agree. Transit bids.
All right, so we have two overhead doors on the existing storage building that have been in rough shape for a while. And then we had three pedestrian doors on the existing building that have started to rust and are in pretty bad shape. So something like we talked about for a while, RFPs got sent out for the overhead doors. These are large overhead doors. We received three different estimates from three different companies. Miller Construction, based here out of West Branch, came in the lowest, $20,339. I did get word from Tim that that number could be even lower if they do not have to bond that out, correct, Tim?
Right.
The good thing about Miller Construction, they just currently built the new building out to Transit. Talking with Ray today, the former director and our new director, it was a success. There were a few little issues. They talked about them, they fixed them. Everything went really well. The overhead doors that were used for there and contracted out with the local company here were, also obviously through this company. So we already have that going for us. Local contractor that we know that does good work. Again, that was $20,339. So as the committee, we agreed that we would like to, see the board go with Miller Construction. And then on the three pedestrian doors, now these are oversized, large steel doors. It is $10,948. Sadly, Miller Construction was the only company that submitted a bid. Now typically MDOT would not allow this with only one bid, but MDOT has seen the history the last couple of years with a lot of different construction projects, equipment, materials, and only having one bidder. So it would take just a little bit longer, but they feel confident that MDOT would approve it. So that again was $10,948 for three pedestrian doors, and that also is Miller Construction and the only bid. Again, feel very confident in their work. So I would like to see us next week approve this, and then from there it would be just pending upon MDOT's approval. And then a really nice part, I wish I could say 100%, but so $28,740 is what we still have in grant funding for this work. So out of pocket, going off these two, and we could save some money again on that bond, $2,547.
Is what it's gonna cost us,
What would be out of pocket? It could be even a little bit less.
because the rest is grant funded.
And again, these overhead doors, they really, really need it. So,
This already came through the transit committee, correct?
correct. Yeah, we had a meeting today and the transit committee both agreed on Miller Construction for both.
Questions, comments?
That money that you're short, that comes out of the general fund or out of transit?
Transit,
The transit's fund.
Right.
yeah.
You said 2,500?
2,547, but most likely that will be a little bit lower.
Commissioner Simmons, anything?
No.
Okay.
I agree.
Commissioner comments, Commissioner Simmons,
I have no comments.
Commissioner Mayhew.
Went to a couple of meetings. They said that,
Thank you very much.
voting turnout was great, page. I think West Branch Township best turnout, but clocking did really well. I want to say they were like 75%. Good hour was 68.
No.
We had a lady speak at Rose City. I'm gonna mess her name up bad, but she's a realtor and she's into this housing thing. And the state has no money for housing. What she told us.
That's. All right,
Commissioner Wiltie?
that's obviously not correct. I mean,
Well, she was telling Rose City, because they were talking about the trailer park. And she told them the state had nothing.
To assist with the trailer park?
yeah, just to answer that, because this is a public meeting and we want to make sure that that's not true. I mean, we're dealing with people from Mishta right now with the coalitions we're working with, and there is money there. We're finding out it's harder to get. It's more likely for current developers that have been working for a long time. They have a lot easier path than people like us that are new trying to find developers. But there's definitely money through the state for housing, especially low income, affordable housing.
Well, I think that's what you're stating, but in that situation or that circumstance,
That's what she told them people. I was there.
Commissioner Wiltie, go ahead.
Yeah, I've got a number of things. I had a pretty big week here. Transit, again, we had our meeting today. Our new director there, Tony Dubé, is doing a really good job. Again, sadly, we had to make that hard decision of no longer Saturday service, which will start December 1st, but that was a temporary decision. You know, they will work very hard these next couple of years to make sure to show the true value of the transit. And hopefully in a couple of years, when that comes back to the public, they'll see that, you know, we do need to support the transit. And then hopefully also at that time, state and federal revenues have gone up as well. So Tony's doing a great job. Ray has been there to assist him right through this. Ray's last day as the assistant under Tony will be at the end of December. We asked Tony to get a little more consistent with social media, again, to make sure that the public knows everything that we are doing. So far in November, 2,442 rides have been given. You know, with number of days, 200 plus rides. So really liking where we're heading in the direction with the transit. Earlier today, we had a law enforcement meeting, which is actually just consisted of the jail transition meeting. We've been consistent with those meetings since the jail has closed to a 72-hour lockup. And it was a really good meeting. Up to this meeting today, our biggest concerns were court security, transport, and I'm happy to report that all three judges were there, Judge Bennett, Judge Beebe, Judge Williams. Judge Bennett and Judge Beebe both reported that they feel that the security has stepped up to where it needs to be. They feel a lot more confident with the processes. And they both were, again, as I said earlier, things have gone a lot more smooth since Tom Howard has been back. And we will continue to have these meetings as long as we need to, because we know the importance of this transition. Ogemaw County EMS, I had a board meeting there just before this. Our new director is extremely happy with the decision he made, and so far we were very happy with the decision that we made bringing him on. The transition is going very smoothly. Justin Rogers is still helping a little bit, which has been huge. I do have some information to report that the current director, it was his decision how he wanted to approach an assistant director. The assistant director did resign, so that position was open. We supported the fact that he wanted to stay in-house. Under Sheriff Paul, who's the chairman of the EMS, worked with him on interviews. There was 4 strong interviews with in-house members. And the director chose after 4 very strong interviews, chose Sean Bowers, and that position will be deputy director. Sean does all the training out there, and Sean is really excited about the opportunity that he has in front of him. And I am happy to report, you know, not 22 months of, you know, being on that board, the position that we are in financially 22 months ago, and the position we were 12 months ago to now is a much better financial position that the EMS is sitting in. So over these last 2 years, we have made financial moves for the good. The momentum was out there good. We hired a couple new EMS paramedics, and things are going well out there. One more. Housing Advisory Board had this past Tuesday. We're excited about 2025. We're gonna have an open house, and that open house in February is gonna be developers, local, far out, trying to invite bankers, construction construction, residential builders. It's gonna be a great opportunity to network. These next 2 months, we're gonna have a lot more information for them. Again, there's a huge push for the affordable housing. We know it's a problem in the county. And we're gonna keep working hard at it.
I have nothing. Public comment in the room. Come on up, ma'am.
It's okay if I see over here.
Yes, you sure can.
All right, so if you don't know, I'm Stephanie Stevens, I'm the 4-H program coordinator here. And I just wanted to share some of the accomplishments that we've had with 4-H this year. So approximately 200 youth participated in our well-established and long-standing animal clubs, which encompass a wide range of species, including goats, sheep, pigs, chickens, rabbits, dairy, and beef cattle. Several youth in these clubs were awarded scholarships to attend a livestock conference up north where they learned how to properly care for their animals. This year we recruited new volunteers, which allowed us to increase diversifying our program. Highlights include a new dog club to teach obedience, showmanship, and agility, a spring Lego club for children, a fall craft club for middle school age children, and a babysitting class that also taught CPR and first aid, which equipped the youth with valuable skills to babysit as a business or for family and friends. And we continued our shooting sports program, teaching archery and BB gun safety and skill building. Through MSU's inbound and outbound programs, a local youth traveled to Japan to stay with a host family, while our community welcomed a Japanese youth. Both of the youth had the opportunity to experience different cultures for about 4 weeks. Exploration days gave youth the experience of traveling to Lansing for a taste of college and dorm life, while also doing career exploration. One of our local youth who attended exploration days earned a $2,000 pre-college MSU scholarship. This youth is also attending 4-H National Congress next week, where he'll enhance his leadership skills, work in teams, and learn from guest speakers. Furthermore, the Ogemaw County 4-H Council awarded 4 youth scholarships toward their college advancements. We also partnered with Celebrate Ogemaw, the Ogemaw County Public Transit and Dynamic Bus Ads to have 4-H featured on the local transit bus. If you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Looks really great, yes. Thanks to the funds provided through MSU Extension 4-H and the Ogemaw County Council, most of this programming was provided to these youth and their families at little to no cost. We're actively working to further expand these programs and will soon distribute a survey to gather input on the community's interests and needs. Your feedback is influential, so we encourage everyone to participate and share their perspectives. And I just want to thank you for your time and your opportunity to share.
Thank
you. Have any questions?
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Come on up, Supervisor. I'm Scott, Commissioner.
Just want to touch base on the Bruce Beach, Mills Township Supervisor. Wanted to touch base on the bidding that you were talking about. I agree with Ms. Simmons. I think that sometimes a project manager can cause chaos. I also agree with Tim that it can make projects more smoothly. But my big concern is it sometimes limits the contractors that can bid on that job being little local contractors. And it increases the cost of projects, obviously. So those are just kind of my concerns being a contractor in the county for over 20 years.
Thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I think that's what you just mentioned, I think is going on right now. A location in this county.
Yes, I've seen it happen both ways. So on big projects, obviously project managers are really great. They're needed. The cost is inquired in that. Littler projects can increase the cost of the project and limit the contractors that can bid that project. So.
And these are small jobs.
Smaller project, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Any other public comment?
I just have one thing.
Come on up.
Hi there, Julie Darden, MSU Extension. I stepped into my office to send off the revisions to the contract in hopes that I could have that move swiftly. I don't think it'll probably be ready by Tuesday. But I also, while I was in my office, I was thinking, you guys are such great stewards of the money that Ogemaw County residents contribute into their government. And led me to think about the ways in which, I could better explain how MSU funds things through their dollars. Because your question about would MSU support a Master Gardener program is really important. So first, it's important to realize that tuition dollars don't go to extension. We get money from federal and state sources, from grants, from competitive dollars, gifts increasingly. Like if somebody wants to give a gift to support Ogemaw County 4-H, they can direct that gift through Michigan State, and 100% of those dollars go to Ogemaw County 4-H. The other thing to understand is that these federal and state dollars support the positions of people that we're not even talking about. So Phil Durst, for example, none of his salary comes from the money that is specifically designated for Ogemaw County through the memorandum of agreement. And he serves many counties beyond Ogemaw County because he serves a dairy industry that's not limited to just one geography. It's really, he works over a large area. And there are other people in other counties that serve residents in Ogemaw County that aren't based here. And so, in that way, I think it shows the strength of bringing those dollars together in a way that can add value for people in the county. And I just wanted to, enhance my response to some of your questions about will Michigan State allocate money toward programs and projects? Certainly we are through the dollars that we get from the federal government through grants and contracts and gifts. So thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any public comment on the phone? Any public comment on the phone? Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn 6:46.
Good night.
Good.